Okay, moving on to the last and final segment of today's show, we will be going all over the Week 14 slate of games and giving some quick predictions. Andrew, we usually spend about 2 minutes picking each game, so it's a little bit rapid fire. No teams on bye this week, so without further ado, let's get to it. We'll start off with the Thursday night football game tonight. We just were talking about them, the New England Patriots at 6-6, taking on the Los Angeles Rams at 8-4. And this is such a big game for the Rams because I think they are a team that is actually capable of maybe going to the Super Bowl and really succeeding in the playoffs. But I think in order to do that, a bye would really help them. But the Patriots are also fighting for their playoff lives. They were in LA last week and played really well. Do you think, Andrew, they will be able to build off that momentum?
I would like to think so, but I mean, no, I wouldn't like to think that. I don't like the Pats, but I think the Rams are going to win this game, but it's going to be a defensive struggle. Look, I think this is as close as a toss-up game you can get with a 6-6 and an 8-4 team. Because, you have two dominant defenses. Bill Belichick is a credit to the defense for the Pats. I think, like we just talked about, you just said how Jared Goff was, Bill Belichick knows how to defend Jared Goff in the system. So I think it's going to be good. And like we just talked about as well, the Rams do have a really top 5 defense in the league, led by Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. So I think that the Patriots, I don't really think the Pats are going to win. I just don't see them matching up on defense. I don't see how they're going to score points.
Right.
Really, because
last week they had I believe it was 2 special team touchdowns. I don't think that happens tonight.
Oh, definitely not. And with McVay, I think he's going to put up a much better coaching game plan than of course, the dreaded Chargers coach Anthony Lynn. But yeah, I have the Rams winning by about a touchdown or something. But it's going to be a close game, and all the bettors out there bet the under, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right, so one other quick point I wanted to make about that game. I do think McVay is going to want to really make a statement because that was probably the biggest game of McVay's career. He really got outcoached in that Super Bowl. I'm excited to see what he comes up with tonight. Moving on to the next game. This is going to be a good one. The Chicago Bears, coming off another brutal loss, they will be at home against the Houston Texans. Both of these teams aren't really in playoff contention, but the one thing I want to say is, Andrew, is that if you're the Chicago Bears, you saw Patrick Mahomes, a quarterback that you took Mitch Trubisky over, go into your home field last year and run all over you. Deshaun, even though the Texans aren't playing great, he's having a great season. That is one of the worst run organizations in football. We've spoke about it so many times. What were they doing trading DeAndre Hopkins? What were they doing elevating Bill O'Brien to the GM position? What are you making out of this Houston Texans team so far, and who do you like in this game?
Yeah, I see they just really are just holding Deshaun Watson back every way possible. Trading DeAndre Hopkins, it's just a terrible managed team. Now that Bill O'Brien's gone, they're doing better and they're more competitive, and they're going to have a lot to say, I think, in this AFC playoff picture because they're going to be versing a numerous amount of teams. And I think they're an underdog. Every team that they're going to verse, man, they're going to put up a good fight because of Deshaun Watson. I have him and the Texans winning against the Bears. I see the Bears just going down a downward spiral. They're just becoming a mess offensively. Nick Foles, Mitch Trubisky, whoever you have, I think they're both stagnant. And I just don't – it's just ugly to watch them. They have a good defense and a lot of good pieces, but I just see the Texans really pulling this one out. And another upset if they – I don't know if they're underdogs, are they?
I'm not entirely sure. Really 50-50 game for me. But yeah. I agree with you. I'm going to take the Texans as well. I do think that when you look at Houston in this spot, Watson will want to play better. And the more I've watched the Bears over the last couple weeks, it's just really hit me. If I'm them, I fire the GM, I fire the coach, draft the quarterback, just rebuild this whole thing. This defense is too good to just be held back by this offense for this long. Moving on to the next game, the Tennessee Titans. They are a team that needs a win. They will head to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars, as you said. Jaguars won their first game of the season against the Colts, haven't won since. The Jaguars are a team that, to be honest with you, I don't bother wasting my time watching them because, I guess for us, we kind of want them to win so the Jets could maybe win a game and still get that number 1 overall pick. But Tennessee needs this game. This is really as close to a given win as anything else, and you have to take advantage if you want to make the playoffs. You on Tennessee?
Yeah, definitely Tennessee. Jacksonville, they just don't look – they're competitive, but I don't see them winning, and, I don't see them trying to win as well. the quarterback is just they're not even starting Minshew anymore. So I think it's going to be a blowout really by the Titans.
Yeah, that team is just going nowhere, and I think Justin Fields ultimately will be a great fit there. They actually do have some weapons at wide receiver. They're kind of similar to the Jets. Like they have some pieces on defense. They just need a new coach and a new quarterback, and then they'll start rebuilding. Moving on to the next game, you have the Denver Broncos heading to Carolina to take on the Panthers, who are coming off a bye week. I really like Carolina in this game. I just think they are the better coach team. Denver coming to the East Coast. And look, man, the Carolina Panthers, it's still unknown if Christian McCaffrey is going to play. But at the same time, Carolina has made some nice strides. I understand they're not the best team, but Matt Rule is a coach that I'm really buying stock in. He really has those guys motivated and ready to play each and every week. And I just don't love what I've been seeing from Denver. I think they could be another team in the market to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Drew Luck experiment is not going as planned, and that's going to lead to a lot of questions. I do like Carolina, even though they're 4-8. I take them in this game. I don't like Drew Luck. I think he's a little too much of a gunslinger right now. He's trying to force passes that aren't there, and he's just trying too much right now. He has a lot of weapons, and that Sunday night game last week really just showed a lot. It showed how he wasn't taking the checkdowns. He was shooting for the stars, and if you can't make those passes, then you can't complete it. And I like the weapons Denver has, and I agree. I think they need another quarterback. I don't see Drew Lock as being the man. So another second rounder that's just not going to be working out in terms of quarterbacks. But yeah, man, I have the Panthers. I love Matt Rule, and I like how they're overperforming, even though their record's 4-8. And yeah, man, I like the Panthers.
Okay, moving on to the next game. This is another game with another very interesting storyline. We have the Dallas Cowboys, who we just watched on Wednesday Night Football lose to the Baltimore Ravens, and they'll be heading to Cincinnati to take on their quarterback, Andy Dalton's former team, the Bengals. And one thing I'll say about Dallas is this. We've had this conversation about Dak Prescott so many times. I think Dak is a really good quarterback. I just don't think he's great, and I don't think that he's the kind of quarterback that elevates his teammates around him and makes them necessarily better. And I understand he got hurt, but the Cowboys were 1-3 and going absolutely nowhere. I think when you look at the Cowboys' the Cowboys' top 5 highest paid players, right? They are Ezekiel Elliott in no order, Zeke, Prescott, Cooper, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Zach Martin. I feel like if you put all 5 of those guys on the open market right now, the only guy that there will be a market for legitimate money will be Zach Martin. You combine that with their coach not being very good, I think the Cowboys are going nowhere fast, and football will be relevant without the Dallas Cowboys. It's proven too many times. I like them to win this game, but I just don't love the direction they're going in unless they make a move at head coach.
Yeah, well, I think the head coach and the defensive coordinator needs to both be fired as soon as possible. I mean, their defense, it's just one of the big headlines of this NFL season. Like they have a lot of good studs there, like Van Der Esch, Smith. They got a good edge rusher in Lawrence, man. And I think Byron Jones was a big loss to them, and I still have them win this game. It's very weird because I think Andy Dalton has the most weapons he really had in any time in his career. He has 3 really good wideouts and, a decent tight end and a great – I mean, the offensive line's been injured, and, that's a key factor. I mean, you got really good skilled players, and I'm just surprised because Andy Dalton was in the playoffs a few years ago, and, it's just shocking. But, yeah, I feel bad for the direction. I don't know, the Dak or draft. It's going to be a weird one for a quarterback. But, yeah, I have the Cowboys winning. I just don't see the Bengals doing anything, even with Brandon Allen. I can't see that.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to the next game, the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, will return to the same building where they won their Super Bowl to take on the Miami Dolphins. This is obviously a big game for both teams. I think Kansas City wins. I think Miami's defense could maybe at least limit Mahomes a little bit. I just don't think their offense will be able to keep up. But hey, man, if you're Miami, just keep the game competitive. Hope your defense can make some plays, and yeah, you'll see what happens.
Yeah, man. Same here. I have the Chiefs again. I like the Dolphins' defense. They have 2 elite cornerbacks, so maybe they can cause some problems in the pass game. But I mean, there's just no answer to the Chiefs. You have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. You just have these skill players that are just coming every year and just putting up unbelievable numbers. I see this game as close in the third quarter, and then I just see it getting blown out by Kansas City. I don't see anyone really slowing them down, and the Dolphins don't have the firepower in the offense to do it.
Yeah, I think the game's going to be big. Also, if Miami has any chance, they need to establish a run game. And let me ask you this, Andrew. We've spoken a lot of time about Miami I don't know if you remember, a couple weeks ago they had a game against Denver, and it was very clear that Tua was not getting the job done, and their best chance to win was with Ryan Fitzpatrick just slinging the ball at quarterback. Now, in football all the time, we talk about, okay, you want to give your quarterback confidence and just keep him in there, but that's not the case with, like, a left tackle. If a left tackle screws up and we're watching the game, we're just going to scream, get the left tackle out of the game, he's killing us. Why don't we do that at quarterback? And if Miami in this game, they're in it, but they know that Tua isn't going to beat Mahomes in a shootout, and maybe Fitzpatrick gives them the best chance to win, do you think they would consider maybe switching it up at quarterback?
You know, man, I really don't have the answer for you, but the thing is because quarterback is so important because they're the leader of the whole team, of the locker room. And, you know, if you like you saw with Andrew Thomas, you know, he got benched a little bit for his lack of play and missing some, team meetings or being late to them. And you know what? No one really made that big of a deal of it. But you know what? When you have your franchise guy that you drafted number 5 and you put him out and take him in and swap him out, it does a lot to his confidence. And it's different because there's just a high standard, you know? You know, there's so many headlines, and I bet Tua, if he gets benched again, it's just going to give him a lot of issues with his confidence. And that's why quarterback is just so important because everyone talks about the quarterback. So you know what? Like, I see, like, if Tua's really, crap in the bed, I would say, then maybe I think Fitzpatrick is good. But you know what? If he's playing competitive, keep him in there. But it's really, man, it's like a lottery. You know, if you keep taking him in and out, you just see, like, this disableness. And it's just, you don't want to do that to a young quarterback and his confidence. So, if he shits the bed, pardon my French, but if he does that, man, I just see them. I see them taking him out, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why it's very good for Miami to be playing him right now. Is because we were talking about it earlier in the show. Is that they need to figure out what they have as soon as possible, so they don't waste this top 5 pick they have coming up. Moving on to the next game, the Arizona Cardinals, a team that's really been struggling over the last couple weeks. They will head to MetLife Stadium to take on one of the hotter teams in football, the New York Giants. Look, man, I don't know if this is a recency bias. I'm not going to overthink this. I think the Giants are playing better football. They're at home. I think they have the better defense. I think they have the better coach. I'll take the Giants to win.
Yeah, I have the Giants as well. I mean, their defense look, I'm not going to lie, man. There's not much difference in the game plan that really has to go in for the defensive side because, you know what, you got a similar quarterback from Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray, similar scheme. I mean, not similar scheme, but similar play style. And you know what? They put up 5 sacks against Russell Wilson, a mobile quarterback that's used to escaping the pocket. I see the same thing in having even more success because Kyler's not even on that level yet. One issue, I mean, I love them. I see James Bradbury doing a good job against Hopkins and double-teaming him. And, I have the same thing, man. I have the Giants winning. And hopefully if Daniel Jones comes back, we could see him, do a little more elevation on the quarterback compared to the backup. And I have the Giants winning as well. They're a hot team, and you know what? Hot teams usually keep going on these streaks, and I see them winning this one as well.
What do you make of Arizona and their recent struggles? I mean, their defense has been really bad over the last couple weeks. I know Chandler Jones has been hurt, but at the same time, they had some opportunities to win that Ram game. Kyler didn't play awful. He did not play well in the first half, made a couple poor throws, but he was fine. I think they had a chance to win the game in the end. What do you think of this Arizona team, man? Because right now they're on the outside looking in at the playoffs, but I don't think Minnesota is that much significantly better. So what do you make of them?
Yeah, look, I see they have a good team, man, but you know what? As we just keep hammering it down, it comes to the draft, and they drafted Isaiah Simmons at number 8, and he's not been playing as high as people thought he was. And you know what? When you waste but when you put a top pick in there, and he's not fulfilling his potential, it brings you down. He was supposed to be a guy that added to the defense, and right now he's not playing at that level we expected him to. So you know what? I think they have really good building blocks in Hopkins, of course, and Murray. I like the coach, but we have to see how he makes more adjustments when teams start, playing it differently and giving him different looks. And you know what? I like the direction that I see them as a really good team. But this upcoming draft is important because they're gonna have to get some key guys in defense.
I think they're a team that the more I watch them, I think they're just a year away. I think the signs are there. I just think they need one more year of cohesion and playing together. But yeah, we're in agreement. We like the Giants. How about this game? The Minnesota Vikings. They will be heading to Tampa Bay. Both these teams are current wild card teams in the NFC. And look, man, Tampa Bay is a team that, out of all the football we've spoken today, we have not mentioned them once. And I'm curious for your opinion, man, because it's funny. Last year when Tom Brady was in New England, we all saw how it ended, and everyone said it was Josh McDaniels. It was the offense. There were no weapons around this guy. Brady's in Tampa with these great weapons. Now he'll be fine. And watching that game against the Kansas City Chiefs, like, when is it Tom Brady's fault? I understand Bruce Arians is not the best head coach, and he hasn't done a great job calling plays. I think Bruce needs to be better. But at the same time, despite all of this talent on the Tampa Bay team, I don't know if I buy them as a legitimate contender. I think they beat the Vikings because even though Minnesota is currently a playoff team, I don't think they're that good. You barely beat Jacksonville at home. That doesn't really tell me much. So I'll take Tampa Bay, but I'm not going to be buying that much stock in them yet if they look good in this game.
Yeah, I don't buy much stock in them either. I take back from what I said. I don't really see them making the Super Bowl, to be honest. But, yeah, this is a matchup game that I'm looking at. And you know what? The Bucs have a top 3 run defense, and the Vikings really rely on the run. Dalvin Cook and that pass and play action game. I love Justin Jefferson. I mean, he's been a great steal in the draft. He's already number 1 in this league. But, yeah, man, look, the Vikings are been playing really good recently, and they had a really good clutch win. And, you know, we'll see. You know, I'm not saying this is going to be an easy win for the Bucs. I'm not going to say that it's going to be a win for them, but I take them over them because of the matchup. They rely heavily on the run, the Vikings do. And, you know, if the Bucs, you know, they have a lot of good guys on the defensive line, and I think, you know, they could stuff it up, make Kirk Cousins predictable on 3rd and longs, put pressure on him, and I do have the Bucs winning this game as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings won either.
Moving on to the next game, we'll go to the 4 o'clock window, a game we've spoken about a lot already today, the Indianapolis Colts. They will be heading to Vegas to take on the Raiders, and I got to be honest with you, if you were to ask me, when you look at all of the games this week, which team needs a win the most? For me, my answer to that question would be the Raiders, because the last 2 games, they get blown out by Atlanta. They beat the Jets, but not with a lot of confidence. And I think they need to come out here, and if they want to win this game, they need to establish the ground game. Josh Jacobs should hopefully be back. Their left tackle, Trent Brown, should be back. And look, this Raiders defense is not that good. The Colts defense has the advantage there. And I think they could do a little bit of damage to Derek Carr, maybe a little bit of damage to Josh Jacobs. So if the Raiders have any chance to win this game, their defense needs to get in Philip Rivers' face, force some turnovers. I don't see that happening. I think the Colts' offensive line plays well. Give me Indy to get the dub.
Yeah, I'll take that with you, Zach. Zach, bro, because yeah, look, both teams are getting good pieces back. The Colts are going to be retooled on you know, the offensive line to get Anthony Costanzo back. Hopefully, he's good. And that offensive line, I definitely do take the Colts in this game because they have a really solid defense. And I see, you know, if you have problems against the Jets, man, it's really hard to bet against a playoff team, you know? So, yeah, same here, Colts.
Speaking of the Jets, they will have a tough game taking on the Seattle Seahawks. And look, we know Seattle is really going to be out for blood here, just coming off that loss to the Giants. I assume we're both going to be on the Seattle Seahawks, but it's going to be interesting to see what the Jets come out looking like in this game following the absence of Greg Williams. We've seen plenty of other teams in the league now, the week after their coach gets fired, come out, play with a little more urgency. Do you think the Jets do that on Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more competitive than we think. It's not going to be a blowout, in my opinion, because, you know, like the Giants really also gave a really good blueprint how to contain Russell Wilson. It's just the Jets lack the players to fulfill that. But, yeah, I have the Seahawks winning. And the thing I have to say, though, about the Jets is, I mean, they lost Denzel Mims for this game due to personal reasons and COVID. He doesn't have COVID, but he just can't meet the protocols. So, yeah, it's really hard to see the Jets winning on the road. And you know what? This is going to be the Jamal Adams revenge game, I see. I see him picking up a sack or two, maybe a forced fumble. I see him having a huge game, and it's really hard to pick the Jets for any game, especially against the Seahawks.
Yeah, let me ask you this. What do you make of the Seahawks in terms of NFC contenders? Right now, who would you give the edge to in that division, Seattle or the Rams? I know they play one more time in Seattle.
Yeah, you know, it's really hard to bet against Russell Wilson, but well, honestly, man, I'm really tossed up. I don't even have an answer, but
it's going to be whoever wins that game.
It really is. Wait, Seahawks Rams, right?
In Seattle, yeah. And the Rams
come up to that game.
The Rams beat them the first time they played, and I think the Rams defense could, you know, really have the ability to limit Seattle. It's just very funny that throughout the first 8 to 10 weeks of the season, we're all out here saying that our biggest concern about the Seahawks was their defense, and that unit has actually played much better lately. Just now, all of a sudden, their offense can't score.
Yeah, we'll see, man. But you know what? I have to take Russell Wilson. I mean, he can turn on the Jets as well when he needs to, and you know what? I'll try to be like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take the Seahawks win the division.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Moving on to the next game, this is another team in the NFC really competing at the top. That is Aaron Rodgers and his Green Bay Packers. They will be heading to Detroit to take on the Lions. And look, I'll say this about the Lions. They really fought hard for Darrell Bevell last week. Maybe they just wanted to make that statement without Matt Patricia. Green Bay is interesting because even though they always win games and Devontae Adams is great, I feel like if you punch them in the mouth, I'm not always sure if they're going to be able to come back. And I feel like they're a little hard to get a read on when you compare them to some of the other teams at the top of the NFC, like the Rams, like Seattle, like the Saints. Last year, we saw what happened to them in the NFC Championship game. They got really exposed. I think this is a game they should win. But Andrew, I'll ask you about the Packers kind of in a similar way that as I did about the Seahawks and the Rams. Where do you see them in terms of top of the NFC contenders?
You know, man, like, I really do. I see them as a really potential Super Bowl contender because, I mean, their defense is really solid. I mean, Devontae Adams is just, he's uncoverable against man one-on-one. So that's another thing you have. And it's just, I see them. And you know what? Their offensive line is underrated. They have a really great tackle in, I think, Bakhtiari. He's like the
Green Bay, yeah. He just got paid, yeah.
Yeah, number one rated left tackle. And I like what they have. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, you know, Green Bay or Seattle or a Green Bay and, a New Orleans NFC, championship. So, you know what? I think the Packers have all the tools. It's just about execution. I have them winning this game as well.
Yeah. I really like what Matt LaFleur has done there also. He's done a phenomenal job. Another guy where if you bring in a new coach, he could really make a big-time difference. Moving on to the next game, how about the Falcons taking on the Chargers? These two teams, very similar to each other. Teams that I feel like always will have the lead late and always blow it. But I'll be honest with you. I'm going to take the Falcons. I think they're just playing much better football. I think they're actually fighting for Raheem Morris, unlike the Chargers. Anthony Lynn, every time he talks to the media now, it's getting worse and worse. He apparently told his team last week that odds are they're not making the playoffs. How did they respond? By losing 45-0 to the Pats. And now he compares his team and the situation of the Chargers to Pearl Harbor, saying how his guys need to battle back like the soldiers there. I think they're done with him. I think he's out of here. Give me the Falcons.
Yeah, same here. I like Matt Ryan, and they have an explosive offense. Anytime they can go off for 40. Anthony Lynn really just lost the locker room, and he's just, I think he's a dead man walking. I think we could both agree on that. And, just give me the Falcons. I don't see any direction they're going in, but, I think they can win this Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this. Looking at Atlanta, what do you think they do with their head coaching search? Because I feel like Matt Ryan, as you said, I think he could be a player that still has some juice left in the tank, but the more I look at it, I think they may be another team where, all right, last year the same thing happened. They played well towards the back end of the season. Ultimately, it didn't carry over. I think if you could trade Matt Ryan to like San Francisco or New England, you could get a lot back for him. Same with Julio Jones. And they fired their GM and coach earlier this season. Even though Raheem Morris has done a really good job, I don't think I would bring him back.
Yeah, really, it's really going to be coming up to what they do, like you just said, Zach. Like, they could either rebuild or they could either, try to, get some pieces and just see if they can make another run. Matt Ryan's 35, and he's not getting any younger, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just tear it all down. But you know what? At the same time, they have really good pieces. Like, Ridley is a stud coming in, and, you got Julio. I wouldn't be surprised if their team that trades for, like a Sam Darnold type of guy tries to, pull a Chargers team. They have a really good offense. I pull Colts, signing a veteran or something like that. So, it depends. We're going to see a lot. But, I don't see Matt Ryan having that much more left in the tank, really, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll stay in the NFC South, and we will have the New Orleans Saints right now at the top of the NFC taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts making his first start. And, dude, one thing I'll say about New Orleans is as time has gone on, Taysom Hill has been actually really impressive to watch. And I feel like at the beginning when Sean Payton first announced that Drew Brees was going to be hurt and Jameis Winston, we thought he was going to be the starting quarterback, but ultimately that's not what happened. I think when you look at Taysom Hill, dude, the Saints are playing better and better as time goes on, and I was very skeptical about it, but I'm just curious to see. This is probably going to be Hill's last start at quarterback of the season, then Drew Brees will come back when they play Kansas City, and I got to be honest, if Taysom Hill plays well in this game, I understand that Drew Brees is, a Hall of Fame quarterback, but, why go away from something that's working extremely well? And the Saints are so good on defense that they don't necessarily need the quarterback to do a lot, but Taysom Hill's been really impressive.
Yeah, wait. So are you trying to say maybe you keep Taysom Hill over
I don't.
Brees?
I mean, maybe for like an extra game or two. Drew Brees had 11 cracked ribs, and he's a guy that he's obviously getting towards the back end of his career. And if I'm the Saints, I just want to make sure he's 100% ready by the time the playoffs come. And to be honest, when you have a guy in Taysom Hill that's making, they just signed him to about a $20 million contract, and now he's actually making plays with his arms and his legs. I think he really complements, Alvin Kamara, both those guys coming out of the backfield. That's a really dynamic dual threat look. Sean Payton's an offensive genius. We know that. And if the Saints just keep on winning games with ease like they've been doing over the last couple of weeks, why change anything?
Yeah. I totally agree with that. The thing is let's just see this, man. There's some controversy that could be brewing because let's just say that the Saints beat the Chiefs. Then what do? Do you keep with Taysom Hill? Do you keep Taysom Hill or Drew Brees? Because you know what, that's gonna be a big game. And you know what, I'm gonna be excited to see who starts. And that might be a little issue coming up.
Plus,
it might be it
plus,
might be a little bit like the Broncos with Peyton Manning and that
Osweiler, yeah.
Yeah, he was he beat the Pats, I remember. So we'll see, man. But
yeah, I mean, the thing is, bro, I think we're kind of underrating 11 cracked ribs. That's just crazy. I don't even know that was possible. Yeah. And when you're a guy at Drew Brees' age, it's going to be obviously very hard to come back through. Jalen Hurts, hopefully he just keeps the Eagles in this game. Obviously a tough start going up against the best team in the NFC right now. Moving on to another game I'm actually going to be really excited to watch. The Washington football team coming off an excellent victory, going on the road to San Francisco to take on the Niners. Kyle Shanahan facing off against one of his former teams. Look, I'm going to take the 49ers in this game. Washington really impressed me last week against the Steelers. But look, Kyle Shanahan, Nick Mullins, they didn't play well last week. I think Kyle is too good of a coach to get out-schemed again. And if you look at the standings, the Niners are actually very quietly still in the mix. There are three teams really right now with them, the Vikings, and the Cardinals fighting for that last wildcard spot. And I do think if San Francisco could earn a win here, they are right back in the conversation.
Yeah, Zach, I have to just, I'm going to take the Washington football team because, look, man, I don't know if you saw a few years ago when Alex Smith was a quarterback, they were 5-2 to begin with. And I love Alex Smith, man. He's the comeback player of the year for sure.
They should name the award after him.
Yeah, they really should. I mean, this guy has, he almost died from this leg injury, and it's just remarkable. So, I mean, I have Washington because you know what? They have a really good defense, and you know what? They only need to send 4. They have 4 good rushers. Montez Sweat, the guy
Chase Young?
they just drafted.
Yeah.
Chase Young.
He wrecked the game on Sunday,
4.
yeah.
Yeah, they could send 4. They could do a cover 2 shell, and they could force Nick Mullins to throw into tough coverage. And they don't really have that many weapons besides, the tight end. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's very interesting that, look, I would be on this Washington bandwagon. My only issue is they lost to the Giants both times they played them. And when you look at the coaching, that's why I would give the Giants the slight edge. But look, if they could go on the road for the 3rd week in a row and win, because keep in mind, Thanksgiving they go to Dallas and win. Last week they go to Pittsburgh and win. And this week they're going on the road again to San Fran. If they could pull out a dub, I will be very impressed. But we're on opposite ends of that one. We'll see how it goes. This is the game of the week, in my opinion. Sunday Night Football, Steelers, Bills. I'm going to take the Steelers. I can't really give you a reason why. I just trust Ben Roethlisberger more than Josh Allen. I think the Steelers come out better and ready to play. And I do think as good as Josh Allen played last week, and I'm not being a hater, I think the Steelers defense has the ability to cause pressure, get havoc, get to the quarterback, and I just expect a better effort, especially coming from a Mike Tomlin coach team that, let's face it, everyone's saying, oh, Mike Tomlin's the coach of the year. I'll admit, the Steelers haven't been as impressive as we all have thought. They need to come out with a big-time effort here, or else it's going to be Panic City in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have different takes on this. I just see Josh Allen right now. He's playing on a different level. It's going to be really exciting. This is going to be a good bar test for him. We're going to see how he can do against an elite defense like Pittsburgh. But you know what? If the Bills pull this out at home on Sunday night, I see them as one of the favorites now over Steelers. Whoever wins this game is going to be my favorite to versus the Chiefs that have the best chance. And you know what? I just take the Bills because they're at home and they have a lot of confidence brewing. Pittsburgh just lost to a Washington football team that's not even above 500. So it's just going to be, I'm taking momentum, but I don't blame you for taking Pittsburgh. It's just, I guess I'm just taking the Bills.
No, dude, to me, if you ask me once again, I don't have a great reason for taking Pittsburgh. I think Buffalo is the better team right now. Something about the Steelers defense, man. I just think they make a play late. I may be right. I may be right. Maybe wrong. We'll see. But I think that's the best game of the weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. And then another primetime game, Monday Night Football. The Ravens going to Cleveland to take on the Browns. And look, I am not down on the Ravens right now. I think that they kind of are the forgotten team. Because they showed you, albeit against the Cowboys, that they could go out there and still execute the run game well. J.K. Dobbins was phenomenal. And I think if they want to make a statement and show the rest of the league that, okay, every year in December, this time of year, there is a team or two that starts getting really hot and ultimately make their way towards the Super Bowl run. That's what the Kansas City Chiefs were able to do last year. If Baltimore could come out here and build off that Dallas game and get the job done, great. But I love what I saw from Cleveland. I think Kevin Stefanski's a great coach, and I think that Cleveland is going to be ready for this game because keep in mind, these two teams played week 1, and Baltimore ran them out of the building. I'm going to take Cleveland at home. Not confident, but I'm just going to ride with Baker and see how it goes.
No, I agree with you. Look, the thing I got to say is, we can't take too much seriousness into the Cowboys because they are so bad against the run, and I was expecting Lamar to have a big running game. And, that defense is just so bad right now for the Cowboys. So I don't want to take too much stock into that. Look, it's good that Lamar's back and he's played good, but I'm going to take the Browns as well with you. And I just see Baker is really playing elite football right now. I can't lie about that. And they have so many pieces on both sides of the ball that are just really interesting. I mean, you can't forget that Jarvis Landry, he's still good. I think it's gonna be a bloodbath, though. Don't get me wrong with this. It's gonna be a really big game, and it's gonna be one of the trenches. I firmly believe it's gonna be a trench game. Who could run the ball better? And we'll see. But I'm gonna take the Browns on Monday night.
Okay, Andrew. So once again, dude, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me here today. It's always an honor to have you on the show.
Of course.
Had a great time going through all around the league with you, and I'll talk to you soon. All right?
Yeah. Happy Hanukkah, guys.
You too, man. Thanks for joining us.